Hello, I'm Dr. Nuke. Um, this is my first YouTube video. I will now talk about nuclear fusion reactors for power generation. One approach is called the tokamak, which creates a donut-shaped plasma in which fusion, thermonuclear burning, occurs at a temperature of millions of degrees, and energy is released from the fusion reactors. Progress is being made with regard to tokamaks, and it is estimated that by the year 2050 or so, there will be a tokamak reactor operating that will be feeding energy into the grid. Another approach is called inertial confinement, and that's where you take a pellet of fusion fuel and hit it from all sides at the same time with a very powerful laser beam, compressing it to very high density and temperature, initiating thermonuclear burning to release energy. And then, of course, there's always gravitational confinement. That's stars, where gravity holds things together and creates enough temperature and pressure to cause thermonuclear burning in the cores of stars. In addition to that, nuclear fusion might be used for propulsion, rocket propulsion, either to produce electricity on a ship to use for an ion drive, or a fusion thruster to directly create thrust. We're a long ways off from that, of course, but I propose a mission to Pluto. The United States send humans to Pluto and have them be off on their way by 2050. That's only 28 years from now. They need to rapidly develop fusion rockets, or at least some kind of nuclear rocket, fission even, might suffice, to make a rocket that would be capable of getting from Earth to Pluto in 2 years and back in 2 years, and say spend a year at Pluto, making for a 5-year mission. Chemical rockets will not work for human exploration of Pluto. You just can't get fast enough, and the fastest that you can do with chemical rockets was done with a probe that went by Pluto years ago, but that probe took I think 12 years to whiz by Pluto, and that's too long for a duration of a trip each way to Pluto. But we definitely should up the ante with space, keep ahead of the Chinese, and send humans to Pluto. Of course, we should also send humans to the moon, and that is being done, actually. The United States plans to have humans on the moon in just a very few years. Then we need to establish a base on the moon, a permanent base, where crew is rotated in and out continually. And we need to send humans to Mars, and that's in the works too. But we need, besides going to Mars and bringing back samples for analysis in laboratories on Earth, we need to set up a Mars base that's permanently staffed with crew rotated in and out. I'm not talking about actual colonization yet, but there should be a permanently staffed base there. And likewise, we need to explore the asteroids and set up bases in the asteroids, because the asteroids contain very valuable minerals, or metals especially, platinum group metals, platinum, iridium, gold, a lot of that in the asteroids. Huge amounts of precious metals in the asteroids, as well as other useful elements. And then, of course, there's the Jupiter system, the Saturn system, the Uranus system, and the Neptune system, all of which are unique in their own rights and need to be explored. And there should be a human settlement eventually in the vicinity of each of those bodies, as well as Pluto. Yes, even Pluto should have a permanent base on it, an American base on Pluto, where the U.S. flag would fly. Now, I'm not advocating for conquering space. That's against international treaty, but countries are allowed to plant their flags if they go to a celestial body, but they're not allowed to conquer it. Anyway, we humanity's future lies in space. Yes. And the asteroids and the moon should be mined for materials to build very large space colonies in orbit. They would be huge cylinders, a few miles wide and maybe 20 miles long, that would spin to create gravity on the inside surface, and people would live on the inside surface, and they would farm on the inside surface of the cylinder, and they would do other things to have a self-sustaining ecosystem. Everything, of course, would have to be recycled, the air, water, everything, because you can't bring up all those supplies from Earth continually. That is not feasible. And another possible design for a space colony in orbit is a large ring-shaped or toroidal-shaped space station. It'd be miles across, it'd spin around, you'd have gravity on the inside surface. And again, it'd be a self-contained ecosystem, food would be produced, everything would be recycled. There'd be industries, it'd be self-sufficient pretty much, etc. One possible source of power to supply the world's energy grid, electric grid, would be solar power satellites that could be built in geosynchronous orbit around Earth. An object in geosynchronous orbit goes around the Earth at the same rate that the Earth turns, and is directly above a spot on the equator. So these huge solar power satellites that could be built, they'd be miles across. They could collect thousands of megawatts of solar energy and beam it down to receiving antennas on the surface of the Earth. And these receiving antennas would, with high efficiency, convert the microwave beam back into electricity to feed into the grid. And vegetation could even grow under the antenna, which would basically be a wire mesh. Rain could go through it, vegetation could grow, etc. Might even be able to grow crops under the mesh. And, well, that's about all I have for this talk. Again, this is Dr. Nuke. See you in the next video.